from self-discovery to unapologetic passion, from inner strength to outward influence. It's Your Turn charts the journey of empowerment. Welcome to our series, where the book comes to life. In each episode, we explore a chapter's wisdom through real stories. We uncover the strategies that turn potential into power. And we witness how one woman's journey can inspire countless others. Prepare to see yourself in these pages and voices. Because with every story, we're reminded, it's your turn to write the next chapter.
Welcome to this conversation on the It's Your Turn book interviews. I have today with me Lucy Chow, and she's a true force in the UAE's innovation ecosystem. Known as one of the original investors in the region, she's deeply passionate about supporting founders and building a thriving entrepreneurial community. But Lucy's impact extends far beyond these investments. She's a powerful advocate for digital transformation, a champion for women in business, and a recognized leader in shaping a more equitable future. Her recently published book, Changing the Game, dives into the exciting possibilities of digital technologies and their profound impact on the future of work. Lucy's influence is widely acknowledged. She's a LinkedIn top voice, recognized by CEO Middle East as one of the Arab world's most influential women, and named by Arabian Business as one of the top 50 inspiring female business leaders in both 2022 and 2023. Her dedication to empowering women in the investment landscape is evident in her roles as advisor to 2022 Female Angels and representative of the World Business Angels Investment Forum. Beyond her investment work, Lucy actively contributes to education and social causes. She sits on the board of trustees for the American School of Dubai and the Solidarity Circle UNHCR. Her insights have been featured in publications like Life on the Move and the Possibilities Project, showcasing her commitment to mentorship and sharing her experiences. Today, we are incredibly fortunate to have Lucy join us for a conversation about pioneering your potential, an important part in my book, It's Your Turn. Drawing from her own extraordinary journey, we will explore how to uncover our unique strengths and passions, how to bravely step outside our comfort zones to unlock new levels of growth, and how to become the leaders who pave the way for a more inclusive and equitable future. So get ready to be inspired by Lucy's insights and discover how to chart your own path to making a real difference. Welcome, Lucy. I am so excited to have you join us in this episode. How are you today?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me, Helena.
I'm so thrilled to have you here because you are like the breathing and walking body of what I would love to bring to the world and how I would love to support women to show up, to show their potential and to contribute to make this place a better world. So I am absolutely happy to have you here. And I'm curious in how you have developed all these beautiful things and this beautiful work that you do. And today I would love to delve into your insights on how women can pioneer their own potential. So drawing from their own experiences. And we will be focusing on three key areas from part two of It's Your Turn, which is Pioneer Your Potential. And the first chapter that I would love to explore with you is Envisioning Limitless Possibilities. And this chapter encourages women to dream big and identify the impact they want to make. And you have clearly defined your own path, Lucy. So, how has that journey of self discovery unfolded for you?
Yes, I actually feel that I've been very fortunate in terms of where I landed in life. And what I mean by that is I was born and raised in Canada, and I guess growing up, I never thought about exploring outside of Canada. For instance, university, I stayed very close to home. I lived at home, but as life took me on a journey where at one point I decided that it was important that I work and try to get overseas experience. So I really attribute my journey as an expat, where I decided to take a risk and leave Canada to find other opportunities, as really shaping not only my career, but who I am today. And you understand this, Helena. I think anytime you're put into a new situation, which is what happens every time you move to a new country, it forces you to grow and it forces you to make connections and bring out parts of yourself that you probably don't know that exist, or you don't need to flex those certain muscles when you're building a career in the country that you really know.
Mm. Absolutely. You could say that this is a result of choosing to go abroad and to explore new horizons. You could also say that you can choose to go abroad and explore new horizons because you know that it is basically developing or activating strengths, innate strengths that we have, but that we were not aware of.
Yes,
And this is something that I see with many women, also women that I work with in my coaching practice. They are not aware of their strengths
yes,
and they are focused on what they cannot do
right.
instead of focused on what they could do or what they want to do. So, how have you gained clarity on your core strengths, on your talents and your values and your passions? How did you do that?
I think two things. First of all, I think it's really important to point out that when you go overseas, the opportunities are greater, frankly. And I've lived in China, Hong Kong, New York, Dubai. These are thriving cities, right? There's the opportunities are boundless. Whereas I feel if I had stayed in Canada, my aspirations for myself, for my career and personal growth would have been a bit more limited. Still, obviously an amazing country to come from. I'm just saying that if we just take Dubai as an example, it's Dubai is always remaking itself. And I think that gives people that live there that same sort of energy and thrive to also continue to remake ourselves, right? We're
Mhm.
growing and we're keeping pace as quickly as the city is building and moving ahead. So opportunities, if you want to climb the corporate ladder faster, if you want to take on larger roles, I'm a huge advocate of going abroad. Okay, the
Mhm.
opportunities are there. In terms of that, like growing my values, growing my leadership skills, or my knowledge of the world, living in these diverse countries, in these different geographies, having had that opportunity and being so fortunate, obviously gives me a broader worldview. For instance, in Dubai, there's 200 nationalities that live there. And
Mhm.
you can only benefit as a human being, right? Being immersed in a corporate culture, for instance, where you're learning about other nationalities, other cultures, that can only be beneficial as a leader. Again, another really important aspect of personal growth, but also career growth,
Yeah,
having that diversity.
yeah. When I look at your accomplishments, Lucy, I see a lot more than personal growth and career growth. I see how you are involved in so many things in order to support growth of others and development of others. So I think that's like also your definition of what is success and what is growth and what is life for you. So how do you come to those bold, audacious plans because it reads like you have many lives. Even people that go abroad to develop their career, they just stick to that career. You have
Sure.
expanded.
Yes, okay. I think you could actually be the second me, Helena, because I think that is a wonderful synopsis of my North Star. And and I think all of that just happened because I did not want to be one-dimensional. I guess I figured this out when I had really stopped working in corporate, when I stopped working at HSBC in Hong Kong and we moved to Dubai. I didn't want to only be known as I didn't want to be defined only by my career. And I thought there's so many other things I could be doing. I should be volunteering. I guess I'm always on a personal growth journey. And part of that personal growth journey is also giving back, right? We the saying, like when you give, you get more in return. So part of it was, and I'll be very specific, one was becoming a co chapter leader of what at the time was called 85 Broads. It's now called Elevate. And it's a global organization of women, primarily women. It started as women in finance, but then it became just business career women. It's a fabulous network. And I think it was almost 10 years as a co-chapter lead. And that kind of was one path where I could step outside of just the career role that I had. And then philanthropy became quite a big focus of mine. And then the investing kind of happened because I was surrounded by so many amazing women that wanted to do things, that wanted to move ahead the startup and entrepreneurial ecosystem for women, and specifically to try to get more funding to go to female founders. And so that's where I think, spent a lot of my time advocating for either having more women become investors or having more funding go to female founders.
Yeah, that's beautiful as an example of how you really expand what you can do beyond your own career, beyond your own success. And it is a very powerful definition of success, because redefining our success and redefining the way that we want to live and that we want to contribute is a very important thing, since a lot of women are living the life that has been designed for them by society, by their caretakers, by what is expected from them. And sometimes that's so depleting, because it's not really make us happy, that we do not find the energy to do the bigger thing, because we just don't see it. We just too much focused on ourselves and to protect our comfort zone. So your example is extremely inspirational.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. When we talk about passion and pathways, I think one thing we need to remember is the skill sets that we gain in whatever we are doing today are transferable. We have to always make sure that we remember that, whether it's being a mother, a teacher, or someone in a corporate role. There's so many of your skills that are required by so many causes or organizations, and we shouldn't be afraid to utilize those in other spheres of our lives. And yeah, and one of the things I really love, and I think this is appropriate because we've been watching the DNC, the highlights of the Democratic nomination convention. And so I'm a huge advocate of having women put their hand up to take on political roles. And that's one example of, so many of us are like, oh no, I could never be a board director. Oh no, politics, I could never think about that. Or, oh no, I never thought about, I don't have the skill set to help or run a nonprofit. Oh no, I don't have the skill set to sit on a board. We need to move away from what we think we don't, what we think we're lacking in skill set, and thinking, what skill sets do we have that are transferable, that are valued, and actually can add a lot of that we can utilize in other parts of our lives.
Absolutely. I love this holistic view, this integration view, because indeed we often think like we are a professional and then we are a partner or a mother, and that's two different, how can I say that, avatars or two different persons, while
Sure.
basically we are one person, and it is absolutely possible to transfer the knowledge and the wisdom and the skills and the strengths from one role to the other. It's something that I very often say when I talk with women that just became a mother. And then they start worrying about how to go back to professional life, especially when they're in a very demanding professional role. And when I ask, okay, but you have been a mother now for 9 months. So what are the strengths that you have developed? And then when they think of it, there's so many things that they are doing as a mother, but also as a family member responsible. They're budgeting, they're consolidating, they're
Absolutely.
organizing, they're creating. There are a lot of things that we learn there and that we can put into our other roles. And we just are so used in the system to put these like walls in between these diverse roles that we do not really manifest everything that we can do in every part of our life. So thank you so much for bringing that up. That's extremely
That's great.
important.
That's a
Yeah.
fabulous summary.
Yeah. Beautiful. So I know that you are basically continuing. I'm absolutely sure that you have other projects and other plans, or that they will come your way and that you will evaluate them and see if you can put them also on your plate. So what strategies do you use to continually elevate your goals and your dreams so they are aligned with really nurturing your fullest capacities?
That's a wonderful question. Part of it is being in the right place at the right time, or luck, or being open to taking on new challenges. So what I mean by that is, again, because I've been fortunate to be in places where I'm away from my comfort zone, it continually pushes me to be intellectually curious. So I also think it's very important, and I'm sure leaders tell you all the time, that it's important to continue the personal growth and to stay curious. I am naturally a curious person, and I'll give you an example of a project that's coming up, and actually you'll probably be one of the first people to know. So I was lucky to be part of a fabulous project, which is a book now, and it's called Women of the Future in Emerging Tech, and it's actually the second volume. The first volume was published maybe 2 years ago. So I just happened to meet the publisher because he was kind enough to deliver a copy of this book that I was in. And essentially, it's 100 women from around the world that are pushing the limits of emerging technology.
Mm.
And I said, I've been wanting to get in contact with yourselves. I had no idea who I should be talking to, but I have had the pleasure of meeting so many amazing women in the Middle East. I would love to have a version of this book celebrating these amazing 100 women, but from the Middle East. Anyway, so
Mhm.
that is going to be my next project. So it will be Women of
Wow.
the Future, and it won't be specifically emerging tech, but when you think of women of the future, it's any women doing anything, right? Any background and any career path. And so women of the future, I think the publishers want me to narrow it down from Middle East to Dubai. And so it'll probably be women of the future in Dubai. So I'm very excited about that. But that was just through happenstance, right? But it was also something I had in the back of my mind when I first saw this book, and I think it helped that I had published a book already.
Yeah.
But it's also, I feel like it's so important to utilize my network, and I'm very fortunate to have an extensive network. And so that is also, and I've been really grateful for my time living in Dubai. So this sort of marries my passion for promoting and elevating women and their achievements, but it's an ode to the fire and the future of the UAE.
That's beautiful. And congratulations with that project. That is absolutely exciting. And I will follow that to see when it's published. I would like to say one thing or ask one thing, because I hear you say, I was fortunate, I was lucky, I was in the right place. Can I play the devil's advocate?
Sure.
Because I don't really believe that.
Okay.
I believe, of course, we all need a good dose of luck. And yet, I also believe that we can influence that luck, and that we can do a lot, even if the circumstances are not ideal or are not really completely set in order to achieve, to manifest or self-actualization. And I think it's important. I also want to validate that in you, the fact that you are open and curious and humble, and that you see and attract opportunities. And we sometimes call it luck, but basically we have attracted it by who we are and by being open and by actually seeing those opportunities. Because if we are focused on the negative, on what we cannot do, opportunities might be knocking at our doors very hard, and we will not hear the door. We will not hear the knocking. But if we are open and we are aware of our strengths, and we have built that confidence, and we have built our network, I like you saying that also, we have built our network, then opportunities will come. And it might seem like luck, but it is something that you have generated by the way that you are. And I really want to acknowledge you for that. And I also want to bring that in this interview and in the book, because this is also what I try to bring with the book, like how to do that, how to have that luck knocking at your door because it wants to be there, because it has seen you for who you really are, because you have showed yourself for who you really are. Do I resonate, Lucy?
Oh my gosh, I so appreciate that validation. It is there's a very spiritual side of me. So I love that you're saying by being open, luck, not luck, but like opportunities come my way. And I think that validates who I try to be and
Mhm.
what I want to be putting out into the world. All right.
Yeah.
Um, let's clarify one thing. I am someone that is very intrinsically motivated. I do believe we make our own luck. I do believe that we cannot have this despondent attitude and woe is me. You got to get up every day and you got to go out there and show up to the
Yeah.
world who you want to be and manifest also who you want to be. So I don't usually talk in spiritual terms. I think it's just innately a part of who I am.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't think I spend time, and I have not spent time until you just encapsulated it, I guess. Um, thinking about, okay, yeah, if you're out there and people are like, okay, I can see that she is a doer, and I am a doer. Maybe I should be asking her if she wants to do this. Okay, I do really feel it's important to put out that positive energy and that confidence. How that happened again, I'm gonna go back, Helena, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. um I don't think I would be the person I am today if I did not make the international move, because, and I guess it just feeds on itself, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Once you've done one thing, then something else happens. You're like, oh, I've done that too. Maybe I can continue. Maybe I can continue pushing and lifting the bar for
Mm.
my, because if you talked to me 5 years ago, I don't think I would have thought I would write a book. For instance, I'm like, oh my goodness, no, I could never be an author. I think you're right. I think once you have those successes, the successes build upon themselves. But yes, you have to go out and find that. You have to work for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a card always in front of me, and it has two sides, one for me and one for my clients. And it's a card saying, I don't know if you can see it. Why
Why
not me?
not me? I love
Because
it.
very often we say, why me? Why should I do that? How could I do that? And I say, why not? Why would I not do that? Why would I not dare that? And one of the things, and you already mentioned it, is also the people that we surround ourselves with. If you surround yourself with people who have your back, who have this positive mindset also, like I call them my allies, then it makes you even stronger. And I wanted to ask you, Lucy, so how does surrounding yourself with allies who believe in your vision reinforce you taking this audacious
Okay, I
step?
love that. And again, my husband and I and our son up until a year ago, because he started university in the States a year ago, we're living in this vibrant city that doesn't ever say, no, we can't do the next thing. And there's always a next thing. There's always aspirations, right? Whether it's the 2030 plan, a 2040 plan, 2050 plan, we see entrepreneurialism, we see sparks of ingenuity every day. And whether we even are aware of it or not, I bring it up because I am very focused on the entrepreneur space. So I'm very aware and I'm very fortunate to be able to meet entrepreneurs all the time, hear their ideas. And if that's what you're filling your mind with, it's got to be only a positive, right? Because it's got to rub off on yourself when you're seeing how much people are accomplishing and doing by simply having landed and taken an opportunity in Dubai, or where they've decided to move their family. It's risky, but you hear about all the amazing things that people are building, right? Whether it's a company or whether it's their career. So I do feel I am surrounded by a city of allies simply because of where we live.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And that brings us to chapter 3 of part 4 of the book. And that is that is clear, that is striving outside your comfort zone. And this chapter is all about embracing discomfort as a catalyst for growth. And we've already spoken about taking some risks and maybe navigating challenges, but what inspired you to challenge established assumptions and take risks by pursuing your passion? Because everybody has a word on what you should do and what you could do. And basically, when we do what we want to do, we say no to a lot of things and we say yes to a lot of other things. And other people are sometimes just projecting their fears or their own frustrations or their incapacity on you by advising you not to do things. What has
I
inspired you to do the things anyway and thrive?
Yeah, I don't know that I mentioned earlier about being intrinsically motivated. I'm not sure I am. I think I've been very fortunate from it always starts with our parents, doesn't it? My dad is probably my biggest advocate, my parents, of course. They could have easily said, no, we don't want you to move. We don't want you to go away from Canada. And even though I was an adult, they could have made me feel incredibly guilty to do something like that. But it's never been that. It's always been just, yes, whatever, go ahead. We know you can succeed. And I don't know that I have many people, if at all, that are in the realm where they would say, where they would be discouraging. And maybe that's intentional or subconscious, that I think it is really important that you're surrounding yourself with can-do people and people that give you positive energy. So whether I don't think it was intentional in terms of a career enhancing decision, but I do tend to surround myself with people that have positive energy. I think to do otherwise doesn't really make sense.
Mm,
And yeah, and just having a really good support network, whether it's your family. So I'm very
mm,
fortunate to have a supportive husband, supportive son, and then friends that have always been very supportive.
mm.
Um, yeah, I don't think I've really answered that very well, though.
No, it's fine. It's absolutely important. And I believe that when you say that you don't have these people bringing in the negative, probably also it is because you are surrounding yourself with allies and with people that are, like you say, bringing the positive. Because this can be a conscious choice and it can also be like an unconscious choice because this is just the energy that you bring. And of course, when you are extremely successful in all your ventures and adventures, people are less likely to bring that kind of feedback or critique. It's sometimes when we really want to make that shift and dramatically or drastically change things in our lives. And we have like spouses or friends that might start fearing that you will become a different person and you will take them also out of their comfort zone, that things start to go that way. But since you have been doing what you're doing from very young age, probably those people are now, everybody is, I would say, they're used to see you doing amazing
Right.
things and taking
Well,
on new
well,
challenges.
I love what you're saying, and I don't know if you've read Thomas Erickson's book. He's famous for the book Surrounded by Idiots, but he recently wrote Surrounded by Energy Vampires. And so there are people that can take away your energy and your positivity, but you just have to be very aware that's happening. There's a difference between friendship, empathy, and perhaps people that will derail you. These are just things that you have to have your antenna up and prepared to,
Yeah.
yeah, push away.
Absolutely. And sometimes you cannot avoid these kind of people because they're very close to you or their family or whatever. It doesn't mean you have to break with them,
That's
but you
true.
can stop listening to them in that very deep sense, as in how it influences what you are doing and in how it influences the choices that you make. I had a very interesting interview earlier with Nina Alwick, and she said, you build your internal framework. And this is basically your core for what you're doing. Because if you are too much connected with an external framework and too much listening to all the voices around you, you're absolutely not thriving and doing what you want to do. Yeah.
That's wonderful, Helena. And I think This is why it's so important, your book right now, because we're living in a world where it is so easy to be distracted by those external voices. We could,
Yeah,
yeah, you could talk about social media all by itself and how it can be a force for good. We talked about, I'm so proud of being a LinkedIn top voice. It matters to me a lot, but it could become very negative too, whether it's everything from false information to projecting a lifestyle that makes you feel bad. And it should not be, right? We shouldn't, and I think it's easier said than done because we're human beings. I think it's really important that we carve our own path. I love the internal framework. We should not be measuring ourselves against others'
exactly.
achievements. We just go out there and work on our own self.
Absolutely. I love that. This is what I do and what I also work
Yes.
on with clients. It's a comparison. There's only one way that comparison can make us better and feel better, and that is if we compare where we were to where we are now.
Sure.
Because when we
Sure.
compare with others, we only compare certain elements that are completely isolated from the context. And it's not the truth, it's not the reality. So basically, it is like you say about our own growth and our own self actualization. Absolutely. Yeah. We've been talking about success. What about failures or setbacks? How have they served as lessons that guided your growth and adaptability?
So I think I'm naturally someone that is either I'm in denial or it's a coping, or what I've decided in my life is that we will have failures, and I definitely have had failures, but I'm not going to let them define me, and I'm not going to dwell on it every moment of every day. Failures, I feel like I had a lot of them in the corporate world because there's a lot of things depending on the company. Corporations are very difficult organizations to navigate
Mm,
because of the bureaucracy. Um, I worked in banking for a long time, so it was very male dominated. There were so many things I could have done better, but I feel like I wasn't a natural in navigating and being smart enough, right, to and they're games and organizations, and I think intrinsically I'm not a game player. I just want to be who I am. And so that's probably why I don't think I would thrive as well today in a huge organization. It's just too bureaucratic for me. But knowing that, then I obviously pursue things where it's always on me. I'm not necessarily having to get approval from a boss or five bosses above that. I I'm not having to manage maybe a dysfunctional team and trying to figure out how do I get the best out of this person that's totally unmotivated, or I've unfortunately had to manage out someone that was very toxic in a team that I was the head of. And I think that was scarring. And because I always thought of myself as a fabulous manager, but that really shook me. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not as good a manager. And of course, we can continue to grow. Looking back on it, I'm sure that there were many more better things I could have done to improve the situation. But yeah, being part of, so I feel that was a failure that I brought onto the team, someone that was toxic, because that the hiring was all on me. And then later on, I had to go through the painful process of managing them out.
mm, yeah. How have you used these as stepping stones for your growth?
I guess I feel if there's and I talk to founders about this a lot too. We often I feel it's important if you're finding a founder of a company that there's two of you or maybe three because it's hard to go it alone. But sometimes you realize there's something in your mind going, there's something just does not feel right about this partner. But and this is typical, and it's a generalization, but it's typical of female founders that they're like hoping it gets better. 2 years pass, and they're still with the partner they should not be with in this venture, and they've lost time. And then they have to go through the painful process of unpairing with that partner. So I bring up this example because I always say, if you already know quite early on, you need to listen to that part of your instinct. You have to act on that. And it's better to cut ties early than to hope things get better. And so I guess similar to that advice that I give entrepreneurs, it's maybe I again live this advice subconsciously. If things are not, I'm part of an organization or partnership or been asked to do something, but I can feel that it's not going quite right, I'm obviously very open now to taking that conversation early, addressing any issues early, and then not having any hesitation if I feel that is not the right thing to say, it's not the right thing, it's not for me. I think we need to have those hard conversations very early.
Yeah, I like that. It's about cutting your losses, if I can say it like that. And I
Yeah,
feel I'm sure that this will resonate to many women. Also, the example that you gave in corporate life, because I see many women executives and founders and entrepreneurs that are successful in the traditional definition, and yet they're not thriving. And sometimes they're even depleted and
sure.
unhappy. And that's because they are trying to keep that status of success as it has been defined by others, and they want to stay there because they do not want or they do not want to admit that there was a mistake. They're like in denial, or they don't know how to solve the situation. Some are in a golden cage, except especially when we talk about executives at
Yes.
C level, they're in a golden cage. And then I see women making these drastic decisions and say, okay, no more, I'm out. And if they don't, sometimes their bodies force them to do that.
Sure.
And I see them doing completely different things and thrive.
Yes.
And some I see go back in a similar situation again. And this is also so important here with your story and with the book. It's about doing the work and going deep inside and see what is it that makes you thrive and do
Yeah.
things differently.
No,
Yeah,
there's definitely tough business situations I've been in where I've lost money, where I've had to cut the ties, where I've lost friendships. But then if I look at how it, in hindsight, they've all allowed me then to just go and move on and do better and more fulfilling things in my career.
yeah,
So I wouldn't want to wish it on anyone, but I think we are creatures of comfort. It's very easy to stay in the same place.
exactly.
Lot,
Even if it hurts. Yeah,
even if it hurts, and a lot harder to just cut ties, as you say, Helena, but we need to do it and have to trust that what by doing so, other more positive things come your way, and you find obviously then other more positive ways forward, whether it's with your career, your relationships, or entrepreneurial endeavors.
yeah, absolutely. Another thing I would like to bring to you, Lucy, is chapter 5 of part 4 of the book is your call to lead differently. And this chapter focus on empowering the next generation of leaders because we are role models, whether we want it or not. And mentorship and supporting women are clearly important to you. So how do you guide emerging leaders to navigate their own journeys and to create positive change on their own track?
So I'm so fortunate to be asked by people like yourself, Helena, to give out advice, whether it's on a podcast or on a book. Now it's much more easier to share our learnings. And if whenever I'm asked, I'm more than happy to share out with the next generation. I do, again, because of my entrepreneurial involvement, I get a lot of opportunity, whether it's to judge or to participate in events that have to do with supporting next generation entrepreneurs. I definitely do a lot in terms of moving forward, whether women and young women's careers. It's sometimes it's mentoring, where in the past I've participated in actual mentoring programs. It's just harder to do with a shorter time. And it could be like a fabulous book, like The Possibilities Project, where I was asked to write a chapter, and that whole book is focused on advice for teenagers in terms of their next it's actually focused on what sort of skill sets that schools are not teaching that teenagers should have or think about building, whether it's everything from public speaking to my chapter is about being an entrepreneur and not being afraid to be too young to start, even if you're a teenager. So these are just some different kind of paths of just sharing my knowledge. So one of my big sayings, because people always ask, what motto do you live by? And my big motto of late has been just share everything.
Yeah. When you look at the organizations where you have an impact, what strategies do you employ there to cultivate an inclusive environment where all individuals can thrive and grow?
Yeah, so I'm so fortunate to be part of, so there's a Global Women Leaders Committee within the World Business Angels Investment Forum, where I'm the Secretary General. And I'm so fortunate to work with the most amazing women from all over the world as part of my committee. I'm a very hands-off person. And of course, these women are incredible firebrands unto themselves. They don't need me to micromanage. We have an action plan that we execute, and we have presidents of action committees. It's quite aspirational. All of these women are running their own companies or are doing 100 different things all at once. I'm just fortunate to be able to be part of that. That's one organization that really inspires me. I'm also an advisor for 2022 Female Angels. And again, I'm just an advisor. There's a whole executive committee of amazing women that are pushing ahead events where we're trying to get more women to become investors. We've had multiple pitch nights. We're collaborating with other ecosystem partners in the startup space in the UAE. And again, this also takes me back to your comment earlier about being surrounded by allies. I just realized that as a function of me being part of these organizations, I'm surrounded by these amazing women that I get to work with every day that are inspiring me. And I'm their ally. I'm their biggest fan. So it's
Yeah.
wonderful to be able to be part of these initiatives where I feel like we're really we're really moving the dial for women, and that I have some part, very small part of that I can give.
Beautiful. I think it's very clear that the world is ready for a new type of leadership. The world actually needs a new kind of leadership. And to me, it will be more feminine. And
Yes.
I'm not saying that it will be only feminine leadership is not exactly gender related. I also hope that men will activate their feminine leadership qualities and start using them, and that women will do the same. Because when I look at women executives, what I see is that, or I guess everybody, or masculine qualities are very developed, because
Yes.
this is what is expected from us. These are the qualities that are validated, that are appreciated, that make sure that you can have your career, and they're fine. It is about goal setting, it is about achievement, it is about everything that is linear and logical and things like that. And I do believe, and I hear it in your story, I do believe that community and inclusivity and empathy and interaction, communication, positive communication, are the answers to so many problems that we see in our world, and not only in corporate world. When you look at politics, when you look at countries, there's a lot going on, and women and children are suffering.
Yes.
And I really believe that this new kind of leadership is ready, and that we are going to be the ones that bring it to the world. So what would be like your last compelling message for women that have read the book, that are looking, that are watching or listening into this interview? What would be your compelling message regarding this new era of leadership?
I love that you're bringing in how important it is that we see change today in 2024. So your book is coming out at the right time, Helena, and my positive message will ride on what you just said. And I don't think it's anything new, but I think if we're gonna put out a superpower out there, it should be always looking at opportunities to collaborate, right? Whether it's across the boardroom, across the office, maybe different departments within a company, right? Collaboration is our superpower. And you've already raised many, right? Empathy, all this. But collaboration can actually have a price tag attached to it, right? If you find the right collaborators, it can benefit you financially. It can benefit your company financially. Always, rather than seeing competitors everywhere, how can we find ways to work together? So there's the tangible from a business point of view. There's also the emotional. Okay, let's collaborate. Let's find ways to build a better world, whether it's across nations. Yeah, that definitely, I'm a huge advocate of getting more women as peacekeepers, women as politicians, again, be with the viewpoint that I think we naturally seek the opportunities to collaborate.
Absolutely beautiful. I love it. I have to say that this is a way that I'm a solopreneur for many years. And one of my main driving forces is co-creation. And
Yes,
basically, by having these interviews, and thank you so much for your contribution, we are actually also co-creating this book. And there's
yes,
so many projects. The book projects that you have mentioned are also co-creational projects.
they
And
are.
they bring an energy. They bring an energy. And because especially women thriving and women following their passion, they start to elevate each other, to sponsor each other, to really support each other in a way that is incredible and that is synergetic. And absolutely, collaboration and co-creation is so important. We are creators. Women, by definition, are creators. We are giving life. And we are not aware of the power of that and the potential of that. And so I'm so happy that you are bringing that up
Yeah.
also here in this setting. So thank you so much. Last word for the audience that you want to share, something that is important that we didn't touch yet and that you feel that cannot be missed in
I,
this
I think
context.
I think we've touched on all, and I think it's just, and whether we said it straightforward or not, is just to just focus on your own path, right? Not to get distracted by what on social media, just do the work you're on
Yeah,
yourself and just focus on your own path to success.
absolutely. Thank you so much for that. This is actually also where the book starts. It's about defining your vision. It's
Yes.
about knowing who you are, what you are here for, and really create that vision. And once you have that vision, because we normally have it in our head or in our dreams, in our heart, then it is about building the narrative to be able to explicit that vision, to share that with others and find your allies. And with that, then contribute collaborating to a better world. So this is absolutely beautiful. Thank you
Mm.
so much for bringing that because this is like the three sentences synopsis of the book, which is
That's
amazing.
um,
Thank you so much, Lucy, for your contribution,
thanks,
for
Helen.
the and thank you so much for the work that you're doing. You
Thank
are doing such an important work. You are elevating so many women. I think it's so important. So thank you for being you and having your purpose and having your vision and really manifesting it. It's beautiful to see it happening in real
thank,
life. And I'm sure it's an example for many women.
no,
Yeah.
thank you so much, and thank you for your positivity.